Hello, I'm Pamela Marshall at the Wellness Radio TV and at the Wellness Radio TV podcast. It was a time in America's history where some Americans, were grappling with some decisions in this country, preserving the Union, enslaved African Americans, and who's on whose side. My guest tonight, John Brown. I think he's John Brown. If you see him on stage, you would swear he was John Brown. Timothy Shamrock McShane is my guest tonight on the Timbuktu Report. You don't want to miss this powerful conversation with this gift to the stage. Our guest tonight, Timothy Shamrock McShane. Welcome back to the Timbuktu Report. I'm Pamela Marshall. My guest tonight, Shamrock McShane. He is an actor. He's a playwright. He is an incredible human, a retired teacher who has toiled with young minds over the years. And he comes to the stage in this production, this incredible conversation between John Brown and Fredrick Douglass, played by Alachua County's Poet Laureate E. Stanley Richardson. Mr. McShane, first of all, I really appreciate you taking time to be here with us on the Timbuktu Report.
Oh, thank you very much, Pamela. I'm honored to be here.
While Dr. Rick Stevenson is on assignment, I appreciate you being here with me tonight so that I'm not alone. This play is on stage this coming Friday and Saturday at the Quinn Jones. Both shows are at 7:30 p.m. You can get your free tickets by going to Eventbrite. This event is brought to the community by the Gainesville Department of Recreation and Cultural Center. So we thank them, and it's under the direction of the very talented Carol Velasquez Richardson. This show that we're going to see a snippet of at the Quinn Jones Center, I saw the full production. And let me tell you something, Shamrock. Mm-hmm. I don't know if John Brown could be a better John Brown than you.
Well, the real guy was.
I don't know. I don't know. You are so powerful in that. I watch you in your performance and I think, man, it's like John Brown back. Are you that gifted in all of your roles?
Well, no. No.
Why do you think you do
this? This is a unique
so well?
experience. This is a unique experience. Well, part of it is preparation, and a great part of it, of course, is Stanley Richardson, being Fredrick Douglass. But because it is so timely, because it is about such an important issue, and because it's just inescapable in its effect on our lives, going forward and going back, I identify with John Brown. I don't feel for a moment that he was insane. I find him to be righteous. I'm not particularly religious in any organized way, but if I were, I would certainly consider him to be a martyr. And certainly in theatrical terms, he's just a hero. So that's why I take a particular delight in playing him, and I'm glad that it works.
And so for those who might not know this infamous conversation between the relationship between John Brown and Fredrick Douglass, bring us up to speed about these two characters.
Well, they found each other. They found each other in the search for freedom, in trying to bring an end to slavery. As you describe so beautifully in your narration to start the play, Fredrick Douglass is on an odyssey that has taken him from slavery in not just into the North and to freedom, but across the ocean and into Europe to change the world. So when we find him in the play, he's ensconced in Rochester, in the North, in freedom, where he's been able to advance the cause of abolitionism. And at the same time, he's become friends, close friends with John Brown, who is biblical in his passion to end slavery and who is choosing to use any means necessary to accomplish it, but not boldly, but not crazily. He's actually succeeded in using every means possible to change laws in Kansas to make it possible for free states to exist in the Union in this very frightening time. And they meet when John Brown has a plan to use violence in the most sensible way possible to encourage the slaves to free themselves. If he can possibly get them arms, and John Brown is in complete support with Fredrick Douglass on this, they can free the slaves by empowering them.
My conversation tonight with Shamrock McShane, who is bringing John Brown to life, Captain John Brown, along with E. Stanley Richardson at the A. Quinn Jones Museum and Cultural Center here in Gainesville. Performance tomorrow night, Friday, the 1st of October at 7:30 p.m. and then again on Saturday. I think that everybody ought to try to get there. These tickets are free, but the space is limited. So you have to make your reservations by going to Eventbrite. John Brown, you said you don't think that he was insane. You needed to put that in there because there are others who thought he was insane.
Yes. And they were mostly in the South and in the Confederacy. He certainly, during the time right before the Civil War and after, he was a complete hero to the abolitionist movement in the North. And it's kind of a smear that began probably in the late 1800s and up into the Jim Crow era to treat him as a crazy man. But I don't believe it. I don't buy it for a moment.
So what you're saying is this work that he did to diminish his work, he was labeled as a crazy man. When you think about where we are today and all of the things that are going on, historically, how much do you think characters or people like John Brown and how they get portrayed impacts how people act today and whether or not they join forces and stand in harmony and in unison against some of the things that are happening in the United States today?
Well, certainly the more people know, the better. If people are informed historically, I think they can make proper choices. For this moment in history that John Brown confronted, he realized that action needed to be taken immediately, that the seriousness of the situation required desperate measures. When he began his insurrectionist movement in the 1850s, Abraham Lincoln had been convinced that slavery could end peaceably, but it might take 100 years to do so. In the 1960s, Malcolm X would make some kind of analogy where he said, well, if somebody's sitting on a hot stove, exactly how long do you expect them to take to get off it? And what kind of action do you think it's going to take? Is it going to be peaceful and calm? So I think John Brown realized the urgency of the situation. It's ironic to contrast it with the insurgency that took place on January 6th, because John Brown submitted to the authorities when he was captured. He refused to accept any kind of insanity plea. He pleaded his case not by defending himself. He confessed to everything that he was accused of. His only defense was to ask, why is it a crime to try to free the slaves? And that question couldn't be answered. It took the Civil War to answer that question.
And a civil war that was being fought to preserve the Union, not to free the slaves.
That's right. That's right.
And I think that people get that misunderstanding that this war was being fought specifically for that. And it actually fuels some white people and those who carried the Confederate flag into the nation's capital on January 6th, because it represents that story is not even properly represented.
Oh, no. No. Well, we hope that, as Barack was fond of saying, the arc of history bends towards justice, but I don't know where we are in terms of that that arc at this moment. But I think eventually the truth will be told. There is an investigation going on.
Yeah, and then even with the Fredrick Douglass urging President Lincoln to free the
Yes.
slaves so that they could be a part of the Union Army.
That's what turned the war. Yes.
But initially his recommendation was ignored.
Yes. Yes. The
Because
situation hadn't become desperate enough. Yeah.
Yet we see this figure of Abraham Lincoln, and thinking of Abraham Lincoln, that he freed the slaves. He didn't just free the slaves because he wanted to end slavery. He was in trouble.
Yes. Yes, that was the turning point of the war. Yes, I agree.
When he declared emancipation and welcomed the free Negro into
the troops.
Because he needed their help.
Yes.
And so how ironic is it that the Union needed the help of the enslaved African, and the African American has fought in every war, every conflict
Oh,
that
yes.
America has been a part in. Yet, just as they told the narrative that John Brown was crazy, the narrative got flipped on Black people as well, and how Black people are viewed. How do you see this? What has changed? Or did it hasn't changed? Or
Oh,
how do
it's
you see that?
changing. That's the one thing we can always count on. You cannot step into the same river twice. Change is constant. I think it's important to know, as Ibram Kendi points out in his book, that racism comes in two strands. There's the segregationist who wants the races to be separate and believing that they should be because he considers white people to be supreme. And then there are the assimilationists who think that racism could be solved if just Black people would be like white people. So that's what we're kind of dealing with at this time. And how to combat it? You have to understand that progress is being made on both sides at the same time, that the forces of racism are making progress, yes, and the forces of anti-racism are making progress as well.
So when you attend this evening with John Brown, Fredrick Douglass, and Captain John Brown played by Shamrock McShane, there's going to be an opportunity after that dialogue for Q&A with the audience. What is it that you think that audience members can get from this dialogue that they hear between these two very good friends who have a common goal but are looking at doing it different ways?
Oh, well, the wonder of this performance that Carol Velasquez has put together is that Stan and I, in many ways, mirror the relationship between John Brown and Fredrick Douglass. So part of the thrill, I think, if you can be there tomorrow night or Saturday night, is first of all to see Stan Richardson in action. He's really one of the most wonderful actors to be on stage with for two important reasons. First of all, his preparation. He is determined to get it absolutely letter perfect right. And secondly, because he will look you in the eye and realize that the only place you can find the truth on stage is in the other actors. And so when Fredrick Douglass and John Brown and Stan Richardson and Shamrock McShane look at each other in the eye, you're getting as much truth as the two of us can manage. And then afterwards, to be able to talk in a dialogue not as the characters, but as ourselves, and to respond to the audience's questions, and people who have just witnessed the event are full of their own concerns about this very important issue. It's invaluable. It's priceless. It's wonderful.
Yeah. You, when you're talking, and this dialogue is where you guys part ways. He's been in support of you, Fredrick Douglass, has been in support of John Brown, but you now have this plan to go to Harper's Ferry, the federal arsenal in
Mm.
Harper's Ferry, West Virginia. And Frederick is feeling like, I don't think you should go. I know you shouldn't go. And he's steadfast about not going. And then you question his commitment, a
Yes.
white man questioning the commitment of Frederick Douglass to free his people. And what has happened to you, Frederick? Why are
Yeah.
you not feeling this passion that I feel?
Yeah.
Is the question.
Yeah. That is. It's a climatic moment.
Yeah.
And I think what happens there is, yeah, John Brown steps over the line. That's beyond the pale.
Oh,
And
he was trying to shame.
he was trying to shame Frederick Douglass into going along with him to Harper's Ferry. And Frederick Douglass, of course, is entirely in the right. It's not going to work. And in some sense, I think John Brown knows it's not going to work too. He's just thinking long term, because long term, it did work. It did work. He said that there would be no remission of sins without the shedding of blood, and it was going to take a river of blood, not the blood that happened at Harper's Ferry, but all of those thousands and thousands of people who were killed in the Civil War. That was what it took. And as you say, and even that didn't finish the job.
A conversation between abolitionist Fredrick Douglass and Captain John Brown. John Brown, played by Shamrock McShane. When I'm watching you all, I mean, you speak highly of Stan and his skills, and you are absolutely correct. But by George, I think you guys, the energy between the two of you brings out the best in each other, because it is, you all are just amazing. And I wish there was money for you all to take this on the road, because I think the historical perspective,
Well,
that's
it's
part of
important.
what's missing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
It would be
the
great.
fact, yeah, and the fact that you don't hear enough about the abolitionist, and to see black and white people who today,
Common cause, yeah.
yeah, feel the same way, but some of them are intimidated about stepping out, saying, "No, I'm not going to go along with that."
Yeah, yeah.
What do you think gave John Brown the oomph to do what he did?
Um, from what I've been able to learn historically, the inciting incident happened when he was 12 years old, and a friend of his who happened to be a black slave, he witnessed being beaten to death with a shovel. And from that instant on, he would brook nothing but the end of slavery.
Mm. A little 12-year-old boy, but they
Yeah,
saw that and then some.
yeah.
And there was some humanity in this child.
Oh, yeah. Well, the religious feeling behind John Brown is so strong. It's from the Old Testament. He's absolutely biblical in his passion.
He feels like he's Moses.
He does. He makes that analogy a couple of times that he and Frederick Douglass are like Moses and Aaron.
And then there's a line in there, Shamrock, that you said it has something to do with God. And I mentioned it the other night. I
Oh yeah,
can't.
I remember. Yes, yes. It's when Frederick asks John Brown if he thinks he's God, and he says, "No, I may be a part of God, because for me, what God is the perception and the performance of right."
Ah, I love that.
Oh yeah, it's huge. It's huge. It's saying that's what God is.
The perception and the performance of right. How do you think that the how do people get confused by what's right?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question. Um,
Come on,
but
John.
but sometimes they don't realize that they have a choice. You know, it seems like in almost every case, unless I guess nature takes it out of your hands, you can choose to do the right thing. You know, if you know the difference, then it's possible for you to make the right choice. So I don't know how often people get confused. I think in lots of cases they know what the right thing is. They choose not to do it. I think we're at a moment now in the pandemic where if you're choosing not to be vaccinated, I'm not sure of your reasoning, but I'm also not sure that it's a right thing that you're doing.
Right or wrong. But people, people have to make those choices.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
This play tomorrow night, October 1st, and Saturday at 7:30 at the A. Quinn Jones Museum and Cultural Center here in Gainesville. It is a powerful conversation between abolitionists Fredrick Douglass, played by Alachua County's Poet Laureate E. Stanley Richardson, and Shamrock McShane, who brings to life the passion of Captain John Brown. Captain John Brown is so passionate about this. He his life was not only at risk, his sons as well.
Yes. Yeah. 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 He lost family members in the struggle. Yep. Um, and and they were impassioned as well. He had believers who followed him, and he was quite articulate. He was friends with all of the great minds of that time. Walt Whitman came to his trial. He was friends with Emerson and Thoreau and Herman Melville. They all supported his cause. Emily Dickinson. I mean, how many people in the secluded life of Emily Dickinson could she have possibly made contact with in such a public and political way? But she was a supporter of John Brown.
And so John Brown goes to Harper's Ferry. Obviously, it's not uh, a success. And then you're put in jail
Yes,
before you're killed.
yes,
Of
and
course, you would have to be put in jail before you kill. They don't just kill you; they put you in jail
no, he
first.
was tried for treason.
And
Yeah,
you saw that as a victory, the fact that you had time to be in jail and to write these
communicate.
letters.
Yes, he wrote letters. He was interviewed, and he was able to make his statement. And certainly, he was able to pursue this question of why is it a crime to try to free the slaves? What do you got going on here? You know, this is supposed to be the land of the free. That's what we're billing ourselves as all around the world. So yeah, that's how John Brown was able to spend his final days, and he made use of them right to the last moment. In fact, it's ironic. Witnessing his hanging was John Wilkes Booth, who
Really?
assassinated Abraham Lincoln. And he has made a comment that has been quoted, it's documented. John Wilkes Booth said he had to admire the bravery of John Brown, the way he took it, the way he was hung. So that's a
Really?
pretty high compliment. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. So when you talk about having to make these decisions of what's right and what's wrong and where we are today, and you asking that very very um, important question: what's wrong about freeing people in the
Yeah.
land of the free? And some are still asking that question today.
Oh
What's
yeah.
wrong with Black people wanting to stay alive?
Yeah.
Why is that a problem? Why
Yeah.
is it wrong to say that Black lives matter
You
in the
can you
United States of America?
yes, can you imagine the thought and craft that went into that saying to come up with that phrase, Black Lives Matter, is surely at the discovery of the perfection of that phrase, the people who came up with it must have thought, who's going to have a problem with this?
Right,
How
right.
wrong they were.
They should
Uh,
have consulted John Brown.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, one of my favorite quotes about John Brown, they asked Malcolm X if there would be any white people welcome in the black Muslims, and he said, yeah, John Brown, maybe.
Really?
Yeah.
And I tell you what, I bet Malcolm X learned about John Brown in prison.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. He learned a lot in prison. Yeah.
Right, because the portrayal of John Brown in our school systems uh, is not a story that is fully told, if told at all.
Yeah.
So for Malcolm X to say that, and then even in seeing how the narrative about Malcolm X was different
Oh,
than
my
what he
gosh.
really
Yeah.
was.
Yeah. 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 When I taught language arts, I used to make a point of Malcolm X in prison wrote the dictionary.
Wow,
He copied the entire dictionary from aardvark through Z.
really?
You want to talk about an autodidact, a man who taught himself A to Z.
Yeah, yeah, we don't hear that. I didn't know that.
Uh-uh.
I knew that he learned quite a bit from being in prison. You as a teacher, a retired teacher, when you ask that question as John Brown, what is wrong with freeing the slaves? Do you often think what's wrong with teaching true American history,
Oh my gosh, yes. Yeah,
which
yeah,
falls
yeah,
under critical race theory?
yeah. Yeah, I had a wonderful professor in college, and when I was beginning my teaching career, and subjects like this would approach, he said, any real teaching you do is only going to get you in trouble.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, and he was a professor, and he was a Marxist professor in at Northern Illinois, Marvin Rosen, and he said they let me do this. They let me teach here because it makes it look like the system is free. And the same thing goes for you wherever you teach. They'll let you go so far, but there's a line that can be crossed, and the critical race theory is presenting that line now. Do you want to know the history or not?
Right. And you know what? There are those who have asked me to stop posting things. Um, hey, look who's joined us.
Oh,
Frederick
wow, there's the
Douglass.
man. All right.
How are you, Frederick?
What's going on?
E. Stanley Richardson. You're in another play.
Um, currently I'm a producer and one of the co-producers of a play called Newberry Six
Oh,
that
wow.
we're
Really?
doing. Yes, and with I'm not sure if I'm even supposed to be talking about it, but
Okay, well,
Uh-huh.
don't talk about it. Let's talk about what's happening
yeah,
tomorrow
Yeah.
night
okay.
and
But
Saturday
yeah,
night.
but it's a production that we are currently in the process of writing and creating, and we will
Historical. It's
yes,
historical too. Yeah.
right, and it's going to be with some of the former MFA students from the University of Florida,
Mhm. Oh,
and
wow.
it's going to be at the Hippodrome.
Excellent.
Cool.
Excellent.
Maybe I guess maybe in November, December, something like that.
Cool.
Alachua County Poet Laureate E. Stanley Richardson, thank you so much for stepping away to join us for a bit. We talked about this incredible relationship that you and Shamrock have on stage, bringing to life Fredrick Douglass and Captain John Brown. For you, you, why is it that you think this works so well with the two of you?
Uh, uh, I mean, Shamrock is an incredible actor. I know, and for one thing, that has a lot to do with it. And but I just think he and I have we've done some other things in the past, and I just think we work well together. Uh,
We we're going to go a little over since you were able
Oh,
to
yeah.
join us,
Good.
but um, we were just talking about the question that John Brown posed. What is wrong with freeing the slaves? Why is that a crime to want to free the slaves? And paralleling that to the question today that many have about well, why do Black lives matter? Why don't police lives matter? Why don't white lives matter? Why, when you see that or hear that, E. Stanley, how does that remind you of what was taking place during the time that John Brown was asking that simple question?
I mean, I'm not sure if John Brown was asking the question. I mean, there were everybody was asking. It wasn't like a question just for John Brown. Only
Yep.
question that he and Frederick had was about that one. That only I guess the disagreement they had, or the argument uh, was about how to go about it.
Yeah, the strategy.
That was it, and um, that was the only question. It wasn't about freeing the slaves in general. It was just about
How to do it.
how
Right,
to go
right.
about
Yeah, everybody, yeah,
doing
but what I'm saying today, as you look at even that question, whoever was asking the question, what's wrong with freeing the slaves, as John Brown was convicted of that, that's what he was brought up on charges for, his intent to do that. Maybe his method
Yeah,
was a little off.
his charges were like for trying to
Treason.
treason, that trying to raid that federal arsenal. Yeah.
Well, yes, yes, but it was with that intent. But as he worked toward that goal, and you worked toward that goal, there were challenges even with your relationship with Harriet Tubman and going back and freeing the slaves, and your concern about everybody's safety from the spot that Frederick Douglass was in. How was it that you feel like Frederick was able to try to keep people in on the right path as safely as possible, I guess?
But I think anytime you're dealing with uh, struggle, something as paramount as freeing enslaved people, you're gonna have it's gonna take all kinds of um, different types of I guess um, modes and means of by going about doing so. I mean, uh, even if you look at the civil rights movement, you have
Yeah.
individuals or groups that really wanted to take up arms, and you had other groups that did not thought that was a bad idea, simply for the reason because once you go that route, you don't have as many arms as
Yeah.
the federal government has. They're gonna always outgun you. You may that
Bad tactics.
it's a
Yeah.
losing battle. It shows that you aren't afraid, and you're willing to die, and die you will, but ultimately it will not um, end well, and you'll still be in the same predicament you were already in if you go that violent, taking up arms, unless you're willing to. Unless you're willing to. I don't know. I don't even think that's then or now was a viable alternative, and I think that's what
Mm.
happened with Frederick and John Brown, because Frederick knew that. You just think about the era they were in. You're talking about enslaved people, and you have these black folk who half the country are fearful of because they think they're not even human, right? I mean, that's it. And then you give these non-human things weapons. So
That
that's
we've been cruel to, so that maybe they'll give us back what
whatever.
we, yeah.
Oh,
Whatever
yeah.
you're gonna. I mean, freeing them is one thing, but giving them weapons, like John Brown was going to do. And so Frederick understood that what were the panic, because he was like, there can be the panic and condemnation of the whole nation
Yeah.
once you go about it like this, because all they're going to see these black non-humans, three-fifth human beings with these weapons, cannons and muskets and guns and AR-15s, but they didn't have them back then, but same thing.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
still,
so that's what Frederick was doing. He was like looking into the future and seeing what he was saying to John. You may defy the federal government. You know, he is a white man, but they cannot. You know, what's going to happen to them? You know, what's going to become of them? You know, the anger of the whole nation is going to be on them, not on you, on this mass, this group of these black non-human things with guns.
This play in its entirety was a couple years ago, I think. And so this excerpt on the tomorrow, October 1st and October 2nd at 7:30 p.m. at the A. Quinn Jones Center, brought to the community by the Gainesville Department of Recreation and Cultural Center. Why is it that you think this conversation, hearing this conversation again and again, is so relevant, guys?
Oh, wow. Yeah. It seems to be happening today. Yeah. I think it's relevant because Black Lives Matter.
Thank you.
I mean, we have not come that far. If you look at this country right now, America, this nation is I think is as divided as it was just before and just after the Civil War.
It's a schizophrenic country.
Yeah, there is a great divide, you know, that it's always been there, but just made visible since 2016 with the election of was it the 45th president? Yes. I mean, and that you said schizophrenic. That's a good idea. That's a
description of our country.
That's a description of, because how else could we have elected 45? We were not suffering from some type of
bipolar. It's like a crazy country. Yeah,
and that's difficult. That's difficult for America the Great to accept. This conversation between the two of you, as I said earlier in the show, after the performance, there's an opportunity for the audience to ask questions in this country where, did you guys know that it just happened in 2000 that Alabama took it off the books that black and white people could marry? It was still illegal. Still on the books in Alabama.
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. I mean,
it was on the books in Florida for a long time.
Well, in our lifetime.
I mean, we act like this stuff happened like it was ancient history. It was just yesterday.
But you know what?
It was just yesterday. Yeah,
that's the thing, because we don't have real American history. We're not able to grasp how close it is to when things were blatantly not good. Because we don't hear the true history. This conversation between the two of you and the energy that happens between the two of you, bringing this to life, when you walk away, how is it that the audience walking away from this can help? That question was asked the other day. What can people do after hearing this kind of conversation and understanding the implications of decisions that we're all making?
Vote. That's the first thing to do. And it's not going to be easy. It's getting harder all the time.
Yeah, we must become just full engaged citizens, all of us. There's so many people out there who actually think or feel as if their vote doesn't count. I don't understand it. I mean, just the logic of it. I mean, if they didn't think your vote counted, why would they spend so much time and effort to prevent you from voting, doing everything they can to prevent you from voting? And it's, you know, just thinking about, just understanding that is crucial. Other than that, I think that's the main thing right there, to actually understand that we the people, and we we have a say. We can control the outcome. It's not going to be. It's difficult because they're going to put roadblocks up every time.
That's right.
Every time there are gains, and what really has to be understood is I think the idea is like when people say Black Lives Matter, or when I was growing up, it was say it loud, I'm Black and I'm proud, Black is beautiful. And the reason why these things had to be told, because there were so many images. The whole society was telling you that everything about Blackness was bad, was ugly, unattractive. So we had to reinforce and we had to give positive affirmations to our children and to our community that they were indeed valuable. They were indeed good and beautiful, and there was nothing wrong with them, despite what this colonial, settler colonial environment told them, through everything from images to textbooks to TV shows to whatever. Just look out your window, listen to the radio or the television set, you'll see these distorted images of Black folk. So saying Black is beautiful is not saying anything about whiteness. We just have to reinforce what it is to be Black and let our young people, our children, know that they are worthy, they are beautiful, they are created in the likeness and image of God. So that's what that's about. And the same thing with Black Lives Matter, which comes about from unarmed Black men and women being murdered by police. And there's always going to be pushback. There's always going to be the idea about Black on Black crime, or white people get killed by the police. So I mean, I'm tired of even trying to explain stuff. I'm just really.
I understand.
I'm like,
we don't have the luxury, though, my brother. You realize?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just really, I've gotten to the point where, because I mean, it's just the ignorance. I mean, just
to still, I think that's the proof of the DNA of racism and the mental illness of racism that exists in the behavior. Because what's my favorite line in this again about God?
The perception and the performance of right.
The perception and the performance of right.
Go
ahead.
I was on like someone's Facebook page. This person, we share a friend. This person is I thought he was more moderate, but apparently he's like really far right.
Oh, man.
And I'm like, how did we get to be friends? I don't think we can be friends. I'm thinking to myself, like, I don't really think we can, because I'm not playing with this. This is serious to me. I don't think we can be friends anymore.
Yeah.
I don't really think, based on what your ideas are, what you're saying, and who your friends are, I don't think we can be friends anymore. I mean, I would go to this guy's page, and he has this thing on there about, it basically says Black people, had the images of Black people, you're not special, right? And there's always been slavery. There's always been enslaved people. And they have these pictures like old white people being enslaved back in whatever. Then they graduate and say, see, you're not special. Stuff like that. So
no.
So you actually said, I think we can't be?
Well, this is not this guy's. This is not his page.
Yeah,
this is a friend of his.
Yeah.
This is a friend of his.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
but
it's also been very interesting for me as well. I saw some posts from a high school coach who ran Black boys up and down the football field and the basketball court, and posting some things that I've seen posted, and it's very telling about who he is and who he was when he was running these Black boys up and down the court. seeking a win, that did not mean you liked Black people, though.
What you find out is what I found out, and it all came. I mean, I had no idea people actually. I mean, Obama. I mean, this black dude, president, right, drove like racist white people insane.
Yes.
I mean, and
Yes.
I mean, Obama being president. Okay, cool. What I got a joy about was watching those two little black girls grow up in the White House. I watched them grow up, you know, them and their mother. I watched them just grow up in the White House. That was cool for me. But I put myself in I become a racist white man, right? And I become aware. I channel that energy. I become a racist white man, right? And I sit there and I look at this television set at this black president and his little pickaninny children and his black wench in the White House.
Oh my God! Yeah.
And I can imagine just how crazy
it's making you. Yes.
Make him. So you know, I'm like, okay, these people are just going crazy because this black dude is in the White House now.
Yeah.
So that's what happened to them. I mean, so that's how we got 45. They're just
he exploited that.
So crazy, they went and got.
He exploited that. Yes.
Right. He exploited it. Right. Okay. I mean, he was very good at that.
Yes.
And obviously there was some infection from yesteryear that had been passed down, and that's why they were able to be reinfected, and that comes to the surface.
The racism, it never went away. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they were already sick. I mean, I mean, the whole country was already. It was just like a sore that had been scabbed over, but it was still pus beneath the surface.
Yeah. But to exploit that, see, the idea is the racism is based on ignorance, but the policies are based on power. It's all about the power. Racism's just an excuse.
Yeah.
You know. I mean, it's almost like they do the racist behavior and then they think up the reasons for it afterwards. Why did you do that? Because black people are inferior.
But the thing about it is really all about it should be all about class. You know, all the poor people.
Yeah,
regardless of regardless of how much melanin they have in their body, regardless of their color.
A lot of white people are being suckered by this.
Right, exactly. I'm like, why don't you see this? I mean, why don't you understand? Why don't you not? But it's almost like it's as if they would rather than for everyone, because if you look at history, whenever black folk come up, everybody comes up. You know, black folk, and then you have everybody else, you know, comes up also. You know, when black folks got the right to vote, white women could get the right to vote. Everybody could get the right to vote. That kind of thing. So whenever black folk strive for social justice, is really justice for everyone.
It's got to be. That's right.
Everyone benefits.
That's right.
But the poor racist white dude, he don't understand that.
Nope.
He can't understand. He's gonna find every other reason in the world.
He thinks you're ripping him off
to understand that. He's more upset about him thinking that some welfare mom or some lazy black dude
is ripping him off,
who may or may not be able to work, is going to get an extra $800 a month rather than some Exxon Mobil or some head of some corporation is
going to get $1 billion.
is stashing hoarding billions somewhere. That doesn't upset him. What upsets him is the fact that he thinks that some black woman with 4 kids, right, may be getting a check or food stamps.
Isn't that amazing?
Or free lunch. That upsets him.
Yeah.
I don't
understand
that.
Or they may get free health care.
I'm looking at all the what's happening all around the world. I'm looking at the Haitians at the border. I'm looking at the Afghan immigrants and everything like that. Now I'm thinking about all the money that we have invested in wars
Yeah.
since Vietnam.
Yeah.
All the trillions of dollars.
Think of the Cold War, all that money, the Cold War.
Just all the money we've invested in
Weapons.
warmongering.
Yeah.
We could have solved every social ill known
Could have
to
solved
man.
the pandemic. Could have solved
Everything.
the pandemic.
It wouldn't have been a pandemic.
That's right.
So part of why this conversation is so important is that people have an opportunity to see another perspective of history. This event is this coming Friday and Saturday at the Aquin Jones Museum and Cultural Center in Gainesville. You can get your tickets on Eventbrite. Performances be at 7:30 p.m. on both of those evenings. This event is sponsored by the Gainesville Department of Recreation and Cultural Center. But the reason this conversation, I think the richness continues. The richness happens on stage. So make sure you get your tickets. But it's also the opportunity to have dialogue with E. Stanley Richardson and Shamrock McShane. These two guys. No, well, look, I don't know that. I mean, we need honest and true conversations. And I think one of the challenges, and my question as Shamrock, John Brown wanted to know what's wrong with freeing the slaves. My question is, what's wrong with telling the truth? Just simply, what's wrong with telling the truth?
Yeah.
How is telling the truth a problem in the United States of America? We say in God we trust. So how is telling the truth a problem?
I mean, when you say in God we trust, you got to identify their God first.
Perception of right.
Yeah,
I'm just telling you what's on the money. So we have it on the money.
I know what's on the money. I'm thinking maybe that it is the God, the money.
Yeah. Perception of performance of right.
Perception
I stayed up late. Well, I'm always up late. And I had wanted to see for some reason. I guess maybe we were doing this reenactment, this thing, and I wanted to see the movie Harriet again, right? So I'm sitting down last night late, and I see where I got my little remote, and I see Harriet is coming on tonight at like 1:45 a.m. So I watch it.
Yeah.
And I watched the whole thing again. You know, I've seen it several times, but it's been a while. So there's a scene near the end where Harriet Tubman, she's in, I think she's in Canada now. I think she's in Canada now. I could think they passed. She was in Philadelphia, but the government and the federal government and the southern states, the Congress enacted the fugitive slave law.
Wow. Yeah.
So these southern slave owners could go anywhere in the states.
If you were bound, if you found a slave, you had to turn him in. Yeah.
Right. So that was going on. So they were all the abolitionists, and Harriet had become, you know, one of the leading conductors and everything. And it's so much in this movie about women and how they were perceived. But she was having this argument. They were saying it was too dangerous. But now they had to go not to from Philadelphia to the south. They had to go to the south all the way to Canada. And they were saying like it was like 400 miles, 500 miles, and more. She had never, something like that. And she had never, her longest, I guess, trek was maybe 150 miles, and like that. And she was like, you know, and she had this thing where your same argument that you had with Fredrick Douglass, she had the same argument with him and the rest of them in that room. Because they were arguing about it was so dangerous and so far.
You can't do it.
She gave this long monologue about it's too far. I'm not going to stop giving up on free and slave because you think it's too far. Some of you don't know what it's like to be enslaved. because some of them were not born. Some of them were born free.
Yeah, yeah.
Born right. She was born enslaved.
Right.
And had to endure slavery. So she was saying to them, right now, someone is getting raped. Someone
right this minute.
Someone is getting raped.
Yeah.
Somebody's child is being sold. Someone is getting whipped. All the horrors of slavery. She's espousing these things to them right now. And she says to Frederick, some of you have gone on to high places and have forgotten what it's like to be enslaved, or you have risen so high now that you may not even care, or you have forgotten.
Yeah.
So she had the same
argument,
that John Brown had.
Right. E. Stanley Richardson and Shamrock, rich conversations with them will be had after their performances of the evening with Fredrick Douglass and Captain John Brown on Friday and Saturday at 7:30 p.m. at the Aquin Jones Cultural Museum and Cultural Center. You don't want to miss this. Get your tickets. Space is limited. You can get them on Eventbrite. They are free. And then we have an opportunity for more of this discussion. This is produced by Carol Velasquez Richardson, very talented woman who's been working in the community to bring lots of good things to the stage and to the community. This particular event is also brought to us by the Gainesville Department of Recreation and Cultural Center. If you do not get a chance to attend this, I would strongly suggest you do your own research. We have YouTube today. There are all kinds of avenues to finding out more information about truth. And as I said before, as John Brown asked the question, what's wrong with freeing the slaves? We should all be asking the question, what's wrong with telling the truth? Gentlemen, I really appreciate you joining us tonight for the Timbuktu Report to discuss this upcoming event and this very powerful conversation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pamela.
Thank you.
You are so welcome. And we thank all of you. See you guys tomorrow. Yes. Thank you all so much, those who are watching and sharing. I really appreciate you watching. I had someone to say to me that they are learning so much by watching the Timbuktu Report, which is our goal to enlighten, to educate, and to inspire. We can read now, folks. We can stop saying what somebody didn't teach us or what they're not teaching us. We can read and do our research and learn and help to inspire each other, and that's our goal here tonight.
That's another story about whether or not we can read or not. But hey.
Okay, we'll do that later.
Yes.
But you definitely can. They can pull up stuff on YouTube. That's for sure. They can even pull up reading lessons. And yeah, it's another conversation. So, who are the groups that can help make sure our children do read and can read?
There are a lot of children, and there are a lot of older folks who we were doing their study with some research and everything, and dealing with medical stuff, and found out that there were a lot of people when they were filling out these medical forms, could not actually read.
But yeah, you're absolutely correct. But we do have those who can and are not, and those who can help teach that are not.
That's worse when you can and you won't.
Right. So this is very powerful. I really appreciate it. And all of you who are watching, whether you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on YouTube, please make sure you subscribe. If you're watching on Facebook, please like and share. It is our responsibility to teach, to inspire, to enlighten, and most of all, to stand for truth. I'm Pamela Marshall at the Wellness Radio TV and at the Wellness Radio TV podcast. Remember, there is healing at the well. Make it a great moment.